Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, I am joined by content creator and social media influencer and correspondent, Katie Feeney. Currently a junior at Penn State University, Katie is blazing her own trail into a career in sports journalism and also content creation. She has been the forefront of marrying social media with traditional broadcasting by reporting via TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram, including being the first person to ever surpass $1 million in earnings via Snapchat. You heard that right. A junior in college surpassing $1 million in earnings via Snapchat. With her massive network of over 13 million combined followers on her social media platforms, if that wasn't impressive enough, Katie might be best known for her work as the first social media correspondent for the NFL, the White House, and her everyday lifestyle content about the college life. Today, we are going to learn about how Katie created her own unique lane in social media influencing that has opened up professional and financial opportunities that almost nobody has seen before. Katie, thank you so much for being here on Trading Secrets.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me. I'm a fan of this podcast, so I'm super pumped.
And we are a fan of you. And I think the whole idea of what you have done at the age that you've done it and how you are changing the landscape of the way like old school corporations think about how to bring in youth and talent is just phenomenal. So I kind of want to start with that. I read a stat coming into this interview, Katie, that 86% of young Americans want to become a social media influencer. And I think about like, I don't know, when I grew up, when I was like 10 to 13, I wanted to become like a professional athlete. And I first want to ask you, before I even ask about what it's like to be what everyone wants to be, 10 to 13, go back to that, Katie. Like, what was your dream job? What did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
I wanted to be a doctor. That was like ever since I was young, I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer because my dad was a lawyer. And then I wanted to go into physical therapy up until my junior year of high school, which is when the social media thing started taking off. But prior to that, like I never would have pictured myself doing what I'm doing today. I mean, this is my dream job that I didn't know at the time.
Right. And how does it feel that you got 80? I mean, that's a big number, right? 86% of Americans want the job you have. Like if you think about back, like some of my girlfriends across the street growing up, they're like, their dream was to be like a Disney princess. Your job, what you're doing is the Disney princess to the young people today. Like, how does that make you feel? And also, what advice would you give those kids that are aspiring to be and have everything that you have?
It's pretty mind-blowing, especially because I do have a lot of young girls that follow me and I'll meet them. And I mean, my goal is to be a positive influence on them. I know that there is a lot of different creators and a lot post mature content. My content is definitely family friendly. And I mean, it's for girls like that look up to me, especially in the sports space, to be a woman that they can look up to and they can see that if I can do it, they can do it too. And my best advice is just, I think a lot of people want to go into the social media space, but it is scary, especially when you're going to school and you know your peers are going to be watching your videos. But if you're passionate about something, you just have to go all in. You can't just dip your toes in it. You can, I mean, it pays off when you definitely put in all of your effort.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so cool. It's cool what you've done. It's cool what you're doing. And it's going to be exciting to see where you go from here. One of the big questions that is out there right now that like a lot of analysts are looking at and just even like economists is the whole idea of college. Like you see how much student debt each American carries, you see the earning powers of it. And the landscape is changing because becoming freelancers at such a young age is becoming, a very, very attainable thing. You are literally the poster child for that, right? We're going to talk about it, but making over 7 figures only on just one of your social media platforms in less than 2 months. Do you think about going to college? Like, has the thought of like, why am I even studying crossed your mind? What's your overall take especially with what you just said, right? Like if you want to do something, you got to go all in. Have you contemplated maybe dropping out and going back to college, just given the momentum you have?
This is definitely a question I get asked a lot. For me, because this all started happening during the college application process, it was never really a thought in my mind that I wouldn't go to college. I mean, I want to accomplish getting a degree. I want something to fall back on, but So to answer your question, I have not thought about dropping out. I'm definitely going to finish out college. I think a big part of it is also the normalcy and to be with my close friends and to be like a kid in a way. I think that it's an important part of growing as a person in addition to getting knowledge. I mean, my major is broadcast journalism, and there's still a lot I need to learn from the traditional standpoint. In addition to the experience I'm getting, I think the combination of the two will definitely benefit me in the long run.
Yeah, I think the big word you use there too, I think it's awesome that you'll have that. And you're living your dream, you're at the school you want to be at. Like, that is amazing. But the one word you used was normalcy. And I was like, in my head, I was like, it's an interesting thought process and dichotomy because I remember, when I went to college on Tuesday nights, it was called hardcore nights and it was called patron. Like, so you could go to the bar if you were a hardcore guy on Tuesday and you could get 25-cent beers, right? And if we spent $20 at the bar on a Tuesday, we were like kings running the show. And so I think about normalcy. This has to be such a different entry point with social media now in college and all your fame and success. Is it normal? Like, you're walking around campus and people know how much money you're making. They know that you have tens of millions of followers. People probably asking for pictures. Like, do you get bothered in class? Is it normal?
It's definitely an interesting experience. I think I went into going to Penn State as I'm going to be unknown. I'm going in just like everyone else. And I mean, I was planning on going to University of Maryland for the longest time because it's my college at home and I knew people would know me there, but I thought, oh, if I go to Penn State, no one knows me here. Like, they're not from my hometown. I'm going to go undercover. That shortly changed at like the big freshman assembly with every single freshman at Penn State. The dean announced that there was a social media star
Oh,
among the freshman
God.
class. So everyone that I thought didn't know, they all turned to look at me. But I mean, people, they'll take pictures. I mean, everyone's been actually, I've had a pretty good experience. I think freshman year was the most difficult because I was in a dorm. So I was seeing people, I had some issues, but I mean, I feel like I've met enough people and they've gotten to know me as a person where if they do see me, it's like, oh, there she is.
Got it. Got it. That is a wild, wild world that you're living in, but a pretty cool one. A lot of people hear stories like this and they see the amount of followers that you have at the age you do, right? Instagram, 1 million, TikTok, 7.4 million, Snapchat, over 1 million, YouTube, 3.3 million subscribers. There are people that listen to this that will try their entire lives to achieve 1/100th of that for their businesses or for themselves or for their brands. They won't be able to do it. So I think kind of backing into some of the success strategies and tactics you've used would be really helpful for anyone out there. And I want to just start with TikTok. So my understanding is that you were on TikTok before TikTok was TikTok. It was still known as Musically. When you look at when you got on TikTok, do you think a lot of your success had to do with the content you were putting out, or do you think it was because you were such an early adopter?
I'd say a little bit of both. I definitely think I was at an advantage because I was at TikTok. I was on TikTok when it first turned to TikTok, but I think the main thing was figuring out what was working for my audience, and it's changed many times. I know I do a lot of sports stuff now, but I never did any of that up until my freshman year of college. So it started with dancing with my like high school dance team or making videos like in my first period class. So it's very much just like the trends, the dances, your typical, I guess, cringy musically content. And then the TikTok content, like when I was in high school, I was doing it for fun. So I was doing it just like what all my friends were doing, except not many people were on the app yet. But I think it kind of goes with any platform when a new feature launches, when a new platform comes out. The earlier you're on, the better of a chance you're going to have that success because there's less people on it. Now, I would say on TikTok, it's much harder to grow at the pace I grew at. I'd say the biggest growth period for me was over quarantine. I think I grew like 3 million, and I feel like it was just like a few months. It was crazy. I mean, and that now at that time, like that doesn't happen normally. It's happened with some people, but it's very rare. I mean, you look at Charlie D'Amelio, she completely blew up. I mean, I would say that's like nearly impossible now. But I think like figuring out what my niche was worked in that moment.
So let's talk about this, something that's very relevant to right now, right? We saw Taylor Swift was at the football game watching Travis Kelce play. That took over the world. This is the most influential, one of the most influential humans in the planet going to a football game. Travis Kelce's Instagram has grown like 400,000 since that moment. You're growing millions, 3 million during the pandemic. When you compare it to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, what is the secret sauce within your content or within your communication style or your imagery, your audio, whatever it may be, that is getting people to actually hit the follow button at the rate they're hitting it?
I'd say the big thing that's worked for me is consistency. I've never been really the person to post like one really great quality video once a week or once every few days. I was posting 3 times a day on TikTok and 5 times a day on YouTube Shorts. Once that came out, I post a reel or something on Instagram every day in addition to like a certain amount of stories. So I think it's creating that formula for yourself and diversifying yourself on each platform, because then when, I'm sure we'll get into brand deals and that type of thing, but if a brand comes to you and you can post that one piece of content on Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it becomes that much more valuable. And I think like what's working for people now and what I've seen and kind of how social media has shifted is it's really that relatability factor. You want to talk to the camera like you're talking to your best friend. I think it used to be the voiceovers and I think like looking more for what's going to go viral, but to build the community, they have to feel like they know you as a person and you have to connect with your audience.
That makes a ton of sense. Let's go into kind of each of the areas of social media and talk a little bit about the dollars and cents. And for everyone listening that's really interested on how Katie's become a correspondent for the White House and the NFL, I promise we're going to get into that. But let's first start with Snapchat. It's the one I'm the most unfamiliar with. So Snapchat, there's an awesome interview you did. I think it was People or Us Weekly, where you talked about how much money you made off Snapchat. And when you made the dollars, you got these notifications. Your first notification was $290,000 in a week. You were then asked what is the largest number you saw on a notification, and it was $600,000 a week just doing Snapchat Spotlight. So first, before we get into the dollars, just explain to people that might not know, what is Snapchat Spotlight?
So Snapchat Spotlight is the short form video element that Snapchat added. So it's a separate page on Snapchat. It's not what you're seeing on Snapchat story. That's a completely different page that you swipe to. And it's going to look similar to a For You page or like Instagram Reels, where you can just scroll and watch 15 to 60 second videos. So I was one of the first on Snapchat Spotlight, which is why I believe I was able to be one of the highest earners, which it was truly mind-blowing. And I think that was the moment where I realized, oh, this is like social media can become a career. I don't think I really thought that way until I was able to see what the potential is. It felt like I won the lottery.
How are you always insane. The first year? But before TikTok was a different name. You're there. And then Snapchat's paying millions. You're there. How are you the first of the game all the time?
Once I hear about something, I
go.
am right on it. I go. Instagram Reels came out and I was in like the beta program for it and I was posting away. I think some people wait to see if others are successful, but you just have to go in when you have no idea I didn't know there was that much money to be made in Snapchat Spotlight. I thought, oh, maybe I'll make like $1,000 if I'm lucky. And then I got the first notification and that's when I started posting nonstop on Snapchat Spotlight. I would post like 10 to 20 videos a day. And it wasn't even like that many videos of mine were doing super well, but because there weren't a lot of people on the app, there was only so much money to be distributed to creators.
Got it. That makes sense. I'm trying to somewhat put myself in your shoes. And I think about the time it was like 30 or 29, just getting off The Bachelorette. I have 500,000 followers. and a brand deal comes to me for about like 30 or 35 grand. And they're like, you got to do a post in 3 stories. And I'm like, holy shit. Now at this point, I'm like a vice president, senior corporate banker, blah, 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 in the corporate world. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm making in one freaking photo what I make in a month of like busting my ass 70 hours a week. And so I tell my parents, I'm like, Mom, you're not gonna believe this. I just got to post a photo, 30 grand. My mom was like, holy shit, that's a ton of money. Talk to me a little bit about like your parents' success or their jobs or their relationship with money, and how are they reacting when their daughter that is in college is calling them to say they made $1 million in 5 weeks?
Yeah, so I was actually a senior in high school at this time. So this was before I was 18 years old making this.
Did you have a bank account?
I mean, yes, I had a bank account, but I mean, I had no idea what to do. I mean, I was a lifeguard like the year prior, so this was just like very out of the blue. I mean, none of us believed it was real until we saw an actual like physical paycheck kind of. I mean, it was like my dad was like, no way, this is real. I mean, my dad is like, my parents are so supportive, but my dad is definitely not the social media guy. Like,
so your dad's an attorney, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so does your mom work?
Yeah,
and what does she do?
Part-time consignment sales.
Okay.
So, and she's also been very helpful with this whole thing. Like before I had a manager, my mom is my best friend, and so she was super helpful in this too. But I mean, my brothers are like, what? I'm working like this many hours and you're making this off of like a video? I mean, it's mind blowing. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Is it a fair assumption for me to say that at 18 years old and 5 weeks of just putting stuff on Snapchat, you had earned more than collectively probably what your family earns in a year?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wild, wild phenomenon. All right. So that was 5 weeks. And to give people context, in these spotlights for Snapchats, you're putting on content. How much content, like in a day, are we talking?
A lot of it was repurposing old content I had already posted, and then in addition to new content, but I'd say I was posting like at least 10 times a day on Spotlight.
Okay. 10 times a day on Spotlight. That was when you were 18. Times have changed. Fast forward, how many years now? That's 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Okay, so 3 years ago, what does the Snapchat revenue look like for you today?
So now it's a little bit different because I wouldn't say I'm making the money through Spotlight. It's more through the Snapchat stories. There's a program. I mean, now it's becoming more saturated with the amount of creators in this program. So it's like a daily amount of money. I mean, it depends on the day and how much I post, but it's all relative to how many Snapchat stories I'm putting up in addition to Spotlight. But I definitely don't post 10 times a day on Spotlight anymore. I'll post the videos I post on TikTok. I kind of just like post my video in every single place.
Okay.
Including Spotlight.
So you'll make one video, crush the video, and then you'll go put a YouTube short. You'll go put it on Snapchat. Yes. So you just repurpose it all over.
Yes.
Okay. That first year of Snapchat, was that your highest generating revenue year for you that year with Snapchat?
With Snapchat, yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say since then I've been able to sustain a similar revenue just as a combination of brand deals, monetization on platforms, speaking opportunities, that type of thing.
Got it. Understood. If we look at Snapchat alone, only Snapchat in the world of Katie Feeney, it's still a 7-figure business for you annually?
I'd say it's a 6-figure business on Snapchat alone now.
Okay.
But 7 figures across
everything else, of course. Yeah. Got it. Okay, so that's Snapchat. And I want to leave the money mafia, the people back at home that are listening, just your overall sentiment on Snapchat. Do you think it's a place, if you're a business or person or brand trying to grow, you should be there? If you are there, what are some things we should do? Just give us some like trading secrets into Snapchat world that we might not know.
Yeah, I think Snapchat is definitely going to continue to grow. I've seen a huge shift in the amount of creators now hopping on Snapchat. There's definitely a level of that one-on-one connection with your audience. So if you're a brand and you want to connect to the people that are interested in purchasing your products or using whatever it is you're promoting, then I would definitely recommend Snapchat and interacting with like story replies and posting kind of the behind the scenes that you wouldn't normally see on Instagram or TikTok, because I feel like it's the one platform that has a very different form. Like it's formatted very differently. It's this individual Snapchat stories. It's these little snippets of your everyday life that people don't normally get to see. It's funny because I have the largest follower count, I guess, on TikTok, but I would say the highest engagement on Snapchat. So when someone meets me, a lot of the times they'll say, "Oh, I recognize you from Snapchat," not "I know you from TikTok."
Crazy. Interesting. Okay. All right. That's good advice for anybody that needs to get in the Snapchat game. Is a guy who needs to apparently get in the Snapchat game. I'm going to re-download it. I'm going to be studying it all night, and hopefully I can make like $10 in a month comparative to your million.
You can definitely do it.
Your million in 5 weeks. What a beauty. All right. Let's transition from Snapchat to YouTube. 3.3 million subscribers is massive. I also like to bring just the reference of a podcast that I listen to that I think the two girls crush it. They're everywhere. Chicks in the Office from Barstool Sports. They have a massive $100 million plus company behind them, helping them, supporting them, getting them guests. They like just recently hit the 100,000 subscriber base, and it was like a huge celebration. You are at 3.3 million on YouTube. Talk to me about some things that you think you've done to grow on YouTube. What are the, give me like the top one or two things that you've done that has really allowed you to grow again at this speed?
YouTube Shorts. 100% YouTube Shorts. YouTube was a platform I always struggled to grow on because I think it takes more for someone to subscribe to you as opposed to click the follow button on TikTok. YouTube is definitely more of a community.
Okay.
So if someone's going to subscribe to you, your video, you're going to get notified when they post. You're going to see their videos pop up in your subscription. So they really have to like what you're putting out there. YouTube Shorts are distributed, I think, probably a lot more than the long form. From what I know, it definitely has more discoverability. So I have tried posting long form. That was what I first started doing. I guess I was at the age where it was like YouTube, the first YouTube creators were posting like my life as Ava, and then there's Mr. Beast and stuff. And so I wanted to post YouTube videos like those like lifestyle girl creators. And I did this in high school, but it wasn't really working for me. And then YouTube Shorts came out. I think this was going into my freshman year of college, but I think it also started like my senior year of high school. And again, I got on early, and at first they were not growing. So I was posting YouTube Shorts every day and they weren't going anywhere. But if you keep posting them every day, eventually one will hit. And once you get that first bit of momentum, the rest will start to grow, and then you'll be on your way. So you have to just be patient and wait for that one video to go, and then you'll be set.
Okay, someone starts a brand new company right now. They're listening to this. They're listening to your advice. I'm YouTube Shorts. I'm going to do it. How often do you suggest they have to post? How many YouTube Shorts a week would they have to have?
I would say as long as you're consistent, whether it's 2 videos a week or 3 videos a day, if you're consistently doing that week by week, then I think you'll see the growth pattern. But if you post for 2 weeks straight and then stop posting for a few weeks, that's when the momentum will fall. So I think as long as you have your own formula, I'm one of those creators that post a lot, and that works for me. But I also know people that post once a week, and that works for them.
Okay. If you had to average it out, do you think you post 15 shorts a week?
I would say 15 shorts a week.
15 shorts a week. Okay. The most that you've made, just not from brand deals in YouTube, right? Like let's say I'm just looking at Prime Energy right now, right? So Prime Energy drinks, they want to pay you. I'm just making this up, everybody. This isn't a formal sponsorship. They want to pay you $100,000 for a YouTube ad. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking just the YouTube that pays you for ads running on your content. What's the most you've ever made in a month from that?
Ooh, It's interesting because the YouTube Shorts monetization is very different than the long form monetization. So I'm not making the most money through the YouTube like Shorts fund. So I would probably say like um on my shorts, maybe like 15,000 in a month. Maybe I honestly am not really sure because for me, like my largest revenue stream is through brand deals, which includes me posting on YouTube Shorts. So if we're talking like you said, the example of Prime Energy drink. So let's say a certain product, they want me to post a video about it on every single platform. That's where I've had the six-figure deals. But the monetization itself, I'm making the most through Snapchat.
Through monetization itself, the most through Snapchat.
Yes.
But for brand placement deals, what platform is your highest rate?
TikTok.
TikTok. Okay.
Yes.
And so when you're doing deals, is it often the case that a company, whatever companies out there, will come to you and say, we want to post on TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat? Or is it usually just a TikTok only deal? Like, how are the structures in most of these deals?
So I've definitely done less of like the one-off deals and I focus on the longer partnerships.
Okay.
And for pretty much every brand deal I do, it's never really just TikTok. It's usually TikTok and Instagram Reels or TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Some of them are becoming more familiar with Snapchat now, so I'll post something on my Snapchat story or I'll throw it on Snapchat Spotlight. But I would say like there's always some sort of combo going on, whether it's TikTok and YouTube or TikTok and Instagram.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm your accountant. I'm sitting down. I see all your revenue. I break it up and I can decide how much you make your best year ever on just YouTube only. What would you guesstimate your best year on YouTube only revenue is?
I would say probably either this year, 2023, or 2022.
2022, 2022. Can I take a guess and you could tell me hot, medium, cold on the dollar amount?
Sure. I might not even know.
You might not even know. You're just killing it. I love it. All right. How about I'm going to guess the highest, the best number from YouTube revenue generation, 3.3 million subscribers, 600 grand only from YouTube.
I don't even know if it would. I mean, yeah, if you combine like the brand stuff, I'd say, yeah, that's probably about right.
Okay, love it. Now Instagram, let's go to Instagram. 1 million followers. So this is where you have the least amount of followers, which is still 1 million. Pretty damn cool. What is your strategy with Instagram? Has it been a big monetization play? Because most people that we have on, Katie, they tell us that of all the platforms out there, they're making the most on Instagram, even if they have less followers. Some of the reasons we hear: they're publicly traded, they're American-based headquarters, they've been around longer, so brands have more comfortability placing deals into Instagram. And I'm curious what your take is, but I'll also give people in the Money Mafia back home, that information also is from people who are not Gen Zers, right? You are a Gen Zer. It's usually millennials that come on and say that. So I'm interested in your take on that and how you look at Instagram.
Yeah, I just recently hit 1 million on Instagram, so I think that's opened a lot of doors for me. But I've done very few Instagram only brand deals. I'm starting to do more of them if it's like an Instagram reel and an Instagram story, but that's definitely like a new lane for me. I think Instagram, it was one of those platforms where it was hard for me to grow up until Instagram Reels. I think part of it is I'm not posting certain photos that will get me the views.
The thirst traps?
Yeah. I'm not the thirst trap girl.
Good for you. Stay strong with that.
It's taken me longer to
do whatever you want to do, but
yeah, no, it's definitely, I think like across all of my platforms, it's taken me longer to get to where I am because I haven't taken any shortcuts.
Sure.
But for me, like it's a lot to do with just my own values. And I'm also like, I know my family watches me, my
Your dad will
professors
be like, I don't
watch
care how
me.
much money you make, but
So I would, yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I can tell with brands that
Yeah.
they definitely do feel comfortable on Instagram, and there's a lot of those like partnership opportunities on Instagram as well.
Mhm.
But it's new for me.
Okay, so we had a big CEO of an agency come on, and to support your mission and character, however you decide to pursue whatever you decide to pursue with your content strategy, he did say that in general, if you were to take a G-rated influencer versus a PG versus a PG-13 versus like an R-rated influencer, the G-rated will always make more than the PG, and the PG will make more than the PG-13, and so on. So, there's also some great monetization with that as well, because the lower, the higher risk you are based on like your quote unquote rating scale, the more liability, the less money deployed. So if there's any affirmation in what you're doing based on no shortcuts, at least you got that from that CEO.
Yeah, I think to like add on to what you were saying, a lot of brands will use my videos for like their own ads. So even if I'm not posting it, they're posting it, which definitely increases the amount of revenue I'll get from it as well, which I think is, if a creator is looking to do a brand opportunity, definitely check to see the exclusivity, because if they are using your video for their own purposes, there's a lot more money to be made, which I was not aware of when I first started out.
That's a good piece of advice. All right, let's talk about your marquee deal, like a musician winning a Grammy or an actor winning a big award. What would you say like the dollar amount on like your dream deal has been so far when you look back at everything you've done? You don't have to say the brand because I don't want you to get in trouble, but the dollar amount, what would that be?
6 figures. So yeah, in like the 100K range, which is it's so crazy to even say that.
So
because
cool.
it's like it's crazy, but yeah,
It's
definitely yeah. And now I feel like I've had a lot of those structured deals. A lot of it again is the exclusivity, where I'm posting it, how many times I'm posting, and the longer term partnerships are definitely more valuable than posting once.
Totally. Money Mafia, stay tuned to the recap. We'll talk a little bit about how these structures increase the overall rate. And even specifically, I could tell you things that we've done in my deals that'll get the rate up or down, or things and how they'll package it. But Katie, I think it's safe to assume if you're structuring the right deal that you want to get done for a longer partnership, if some brand wants to work with Katie Feeney, assuming that it's going to be 100K plus.
Yeah, again, it depends on, I would say if I'm posting on all of my platforms,
Sure.
I'd say, and if they're also using it for their own purposes, yes.
Okay, cool. I want to get into what it's like to be a correspondent for some of, the biggest places in the world, like the White House and the NFL. Before I do that, with all this money coming in, this is a money podcast too. How do you manage at such a young age? How do you like control your spending? How do you invest it? Like, what do you do with all this money at your age?
Yeah, I don't spend a ton of it. I have a 401k retirement plan. I have a 504 plan, which is what I'm using for college. So I'd say like my big spending things for college, and I got myself a car. But I have a financial advisor. My parents are definitely a huge help as well, because I was making this at 18 years old. So I really knew nothing, but definitely like investing in various stocks and bonds. And then eventually I want to get into real estate. So I'm hoping to do that this year, in addition. But yeah, it's definitely confusing, and I'm still learning about it, but it's important for me to know, because I need to know where is my money going, and to have the awareness instead of just like, yes, I have a financial advisor, but I need to know what's going on too. I can't just put it completely in someone else's hands.
Yeah, and I have to imagine like one of the first big years you had, let's just say you're 18, you're 19, and you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. You're probably like, what is all this? Like, I don't even right? Like, that's a lot to take on at a young age.
Because like I went from, was making money, but it was nothing to it wasn't in like this 7-figure range. So I wasn't even really paying attention to what money I was like, where it was coming from and who it was just all at once. I was like, oh wait, this is there's a lot I need to do here. And so that was a reality check. And so now I'm definitely I'm very organized now, but at the time it just wasn't even a thought in my head. I didn't know you could make that much money on social media.
It's pretty wild. You clearly have made that money. You've been good with your money. You're continuing to build everything you build, but it's one thing to be a content creator who does well. We're hearing more about that every day in 2023. It's another thing to even be a content creator making this kind of money, 7 figures in college. It's a whole different discussion when the White House approaches you. I mean, that is just a league of its own. So how does this come about? How is the White House reaching out to Katie? Why and what does it look like?
I thought it was fake. I
can imagine. I would too.
Come through, and I was like, "Am I being pranked right now?" There's just no way. So it's like I'm a correspondent of like a photojournalism group that is called AKSM Media. So there's other college students or college grads from Villanova that are a part of it, but I do more of like the special events, so like event by event, depending on what I'm able to attend with school. So I definitely I focus more on just like the bigger events, like I went to when the Kansas City Chiefs visited for the Super Bowl. And then I went to like the holiday decorating. I was supposed to go to the Easter egg roll, but I ended up not being able to go. And then really I have the opportunity to pretty much go to any like event that's coming up, but it's just a matter of like travel and getting there. But yeah, I mean, going through like Secret Service and all that, it was really crazy. I never thought I'd be able to like walk through the White House, and then I'm there for the holiday decorating, and I didn't even realize I was actually going to be fully in the White House, like basically getting a tour of it. I thought it was just like one room. I didn't really know what to expect, and it was crazy. I saw like the stairs to like where the president is. It was
well, I was going to say, is like, okay, we see the White House, we do these little tours, there's documentaries, all this stuff. What is the number one, like the craziest thing you saw in there that you could have only seen with your eyes that like you probably wouldn't see in a documentary?
I mean, it was really cool seeing all of the paintings of the past presidents and first ladies. That was really interesting. I mean, I think just seeing it in person, there's definitely like pictures. I got to like see the Oval Office. I didn't get to go in it, but seeing it from the outside was cool. Being on like the lawn.
Did you see any like food? Like, is there food? Do they drink out of like gold glasses only? Like what? Anything crazy? Like is there a big cigar box or something? I don't know. Give me something here.
I mean, there was definitely like fancy plates and stuff. It was also like the Christmas decorating.
Okay,
I've been in like the press room and stuff like that, but I haven't, other than the Christmas decorating, I haven't just like walked through the White House.
Yeah, I get that. When White House asks you to do this stuff, do they pay you for this? Or is it more just like you're getting an honor of working with the White House?
Yeah, it's more of an experience thing. And that like kind of going back to the question you asked me about like how much will a brand pay me, if I love the brand, I will do it because I love the brand. And I will also do things for experience. I think I'm more focused on career building than like, I want this much money for a certain brand deal. Like that to me is, if I have that approach, then I'm only ever going to be consumed in that part of it instead of where am I going to go once this brand deal is over? Where am I going to be in 5 years, 10 years? So I think like for a lot of creators, that's the mindset that we all need to have.
I think it's a great piece of advice for anyone back home that has 10 followers or 10 million. If you could use social media as a networking play just to get in front of people you otherwise couldn't have, that could create a longer term revenue stream and just like, business opportunities that are much greater than a quick fee up front. So I think that's a great piece of advice. I want to transition to the NFL work you're doing. I mean, I want to paint the picture for everyone back home. I saw Katie's social media. Like, if you haven't gone to an NFL game, if you have, you'll know what I'm saying. But on the sideline, there are all these media people and they wear these like very, very large tan vest that says media in big letters on their back. And they have like knee pads on, shoulder pads on, they have elbow pads on. And the reason is because they're taking the craziest photos with these cameras that are bigger than our bodies. And they have like 6 of them strapped onto themselves. Well, Katie's sitting there with that big vest. She doesn't have the knee pads, the elbow pads, the shoulder pads, the helmet. She has her little iPhone and she's taking content just with her iPhone. So you are now the first social media correspondent, and you only have to bring that little phone of yours that fits in your pocket. Tell me a little bit about that partnership. How did that become reality?
So the first thing I ever did for the Commanders was actually in high school, and I think I was just wearing their merch and doing like a dance they had sent me to do. And then I did another like deal with the NFL, but it was just a one-time deal. It was like a touchdown dance thing I did with my dance team. But following into freshman year of college, I was invited to just one of the Commanders games with my family. And then I think it was that April was when the partnership began. So I think kind of going back to what we were talking about, the importance of building relationships and not asking for a certain dollar amount. You have to think long term, because since they saw me as someone that was reliable, it's also my home team. I've been like a Washington fan my whole life. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think they saw me as a person that could definitely bridge the gap between the Gen Z group and people that aren't sports fans, and then also your traditional football fan. So I think reaching that younger audience was the goal. But yeah, it's been really cool and a huge honor that I was the first ever. I remember it was tweeted out and I was like, okay, now it's real. Now it's not just an idea, it's going into fruition.
And in a situation like that, are you being paid by YouTube or the NFL, or is it strictly experiential?
No, there is money in it. Originally it was through the Commanders. Now it's structured a little bit differently. So it's through the NFL and YouTube.
Got it. Very, very cool. Well, what's next? I mean, so you have 10 million plus followers. You're in school. You're a junior. You've made millions of dollars. You've worked for the White House. You're working for YouTube and the NFL. What does the 1, 2, 5-year outlook look like for you?
I definitely want to continue in sports, not just doing the NFL, but the MLB, the MLS. I haven't gotten into NBA or the NHL yet, so that would definitely be something I'm interested in dipping my toes in. But yeah, I mean, if I can continue learning the traditional broadcasting, but kind of shifting to the short form, which is what I'm doing now, I think there's a whole different world of broadcasting just within social media itself, and doing those iPhone interviews with the mini mics. And I'm not talking about the plays that just occurred or like the analytics. My take is definitely more what my audience likes, which is getting to know the player as a person, getting to know their story, their pregame ritual. Are there any
favorite fast food restaurant, stuff like that? Yeah.
I remember I went to MLB All-Star Weekend and I got to interview these huge MLB All-Stars like Mike Trout, Juan Soto. I met Aaron Judge. And I mean, I'm asking these players who has the best style on the team. So it's definitely but I think it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air for them, because they're so used to be at
same questions. What about your batting average?
Questions.
Yeah.
Right. And then here I come in, everyone, I'm definitely the youngest there. I'm one of the only females there, and I have my iPhone recording them. So I think it's just the beginning of this new form of broadcasting. And it's definitely I think giving my take and my perspective of a game is, I think it's different, but I think for at least my audience, it's interesting to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah. One thing you just said there that really clicked with me is you said new form of broadcasting. When I think about some of the peers I work with, or even people that we manage through the talent agency I own, let's call it in the 29 to 40 range. A lot of them are I want the next TV show. I want the next reality show. I want the next hosting job on TV. That's where they're very focused. It feels like to me, and I could be wrong, that what you're saying is this new form of journalism. It's very social media focused. Now, if you can be aligned with these huge brands, like the NFL, like the MLB, and do these interviews where it will also go on their social and like maybe TV, whatever, that's the direction you want to go. Like, do you even think like that? Do you think like, I need to be on TV? I want to be on a reality show. I need to be the host of CBS? Or are you thinking more like, no, I need to stay in social media however I can. And this is the world I need to keep doing well with?
I'm definitely open to really trying anything, but for now, I think sticking in the social media space, I'm going to get my degree. So if I want to eventually shift to more of the traditional broadcasting or hosting of a show, I'll have that ability to go down that route, especially with the connections I've made while working in sports. But I mean, I think like Pat McAfee's a great example.
Yeah.
He has built a show, but on his own. And now he's having the ability to do it other places. But I think like that is definitely the future. So many, like if you want to go into acting, or singing, you have the ability to build it out on your own. And then if you want to take that next step, you can do that, or you can continue to do it on your own and still be successful.
It's such a good perspective and piece of advice, because I think so many people are like waiting for the break. They're waiting for the person to knock on their door. But today is when you can just do it. You can do it. And I think the more these large institutions like ESPN, who picked up a Pat McAfee for millions and millions of dollars, they're going to realize, wait a second, there's very low risk when we write a big check like that, but this person already has an established community and show and following. All the numbers are there. And so what I think is going to happen is all those institutions are only going to pick up people that have communities, that have this already proven, because the risk is lower and the return is greater. And I think it even makes a greater point to what you're saying. If you want that, go do it, go build it. If you do, more opportunities will come. Do you agree with that?
Yes, 100%.
I love it. All right. Well, Katie, this has been extremely informative, diving into all the different angles of social media, the different platforms where people can make money, how, some of the tips and tricks to do it. We have to end with a trading secret. So a trading secret that we can only get from Katie Feeney, one that can do with either content creation, money management, life management, whatever it might be. What can you leave us with, Katie?
So I would definitely say it's building a relationship with a brand, even if there is no money to start with, that will eventually lead to long-term partnerships. And it shows that you're reliable, you're someone they can go to, and I think I always over deliver. So regardless if there's money in it, if I'm getting paid, if this is the biggest brand deal I've ever done, I will over deliver anyways. And then, yeah, they'll come to me again, or maybe they'll present a deal that's even bigger. So I think always do your best job, deliver on time. And yeah, I think that's what will make you stand out as opposed to someone else. Because every agencies, they're pitching the creators they think will be best for the job to these brands. So you want to be the first name that they think of when a brand comes to them.
That is such a good piece of advice. Like, over deliver, be willing to take discounts, be willing to even do for free if you want it bad enough, and just continue to build those relationships, because there are other people working on your behalf. I just have one follow-up question to your trading secret. If you think about everything you've done, you've talked about people hiring you. Is there anybody you have hired, or are there any pieces of technology or resources you've bought in that have really helped you achieve what you've achieved?
Management.
Okay.
I used to do it on my own, but it gets to the point where it's just too much. So I have a whole management team now. I don't have a business manager, but I have multiple managers, but they're all part of one team. So having someone negotiate on your behalf, I think sometimes because I'm young, you can get taken advantage of. So to have someone speaking for you, but then looping you in is very strategic.
know how to outsource and get people working on your behalf. Katie Feeney, this has been an awesome episode. We've learned so much about your journey, what has happened, and what is to come. Where can everyone find you on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube? Where can they find all your work?
Katie Feeney. It's pretty much just Katie Feeney on everything, but on Instagram and TikTok, there's 2 Y's at the end.
Someone took Katie Feeney before you could get there.
Katie Feeney was taken.
It's the only thing in the world you haven't gotten first to.
I was not on top of the username, no.
Not on top of it, so you know what? Add a Y. Everyone listen, Money Mafia, go give Katie Feeney a follow on all of her social platforms. And Katie, thank you so much for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
This was awesome.